You ready? So, lights are on, camera and action going, audio on. Welcome to the Kinda Lost podcast, episode 3, ladies and gentlemen. So now our job from here is to talk.
But
okay, you ready?
3, 2, 1.
Dude, that was... It's not even supposed to be a joke at this point. It's just that I'm that bad.
No, I'm bad.
Wait, can we do it one more time? 3, 2, 1. That was decent. Not too bad.
I'm proud of that one.
Okay, all right, that's good. So before we get into anything else, let's start with our plant of the podcast.
Plant of the podcast. Oh, I'm so excited.
What is this?
So this is a little mother of millions. The cool thing about this plant is all of these little, if you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
I can probably zoom in a little bit.
But there's little, growths at the top of the leaves here. And what these little growths are actually babies of the plant. So these little growths will drop into the soil once they're big enough. These guys right here are about ready to drop, and they'll drop into the soil right below it, and then another mother of millions plant will start to grow. And so it creates its spawn. Yes, it just keeps creating. And my mom actually gifted me just a few of these little starts here last year, and one of them grew up into this big one, and this is my first generation of babies here.
So, enter the mother of millions.
Yes.
Hosted here on the Kinda Lost podcast, episode 3.
I'm proud of her.
This is so this is the tiniest plant so far.
Yeah, definitely the tiniest.
But it's a solid plant.
But
it's a good plant.
Definitely the most abundant.
Yeah. And there are many more to come, so don't worry. So what are we talking about today? Actually, you know what I want to talk about first is the kind of ongoings of our business as it stands right now. What are we doing? Approaching that topic is there's about a million ways that we could go from there, but the thing that I want to talk about maybe is what we're hoping to begin doing soonest, which is probably entering new and kind of creative forms of portraiture. And if you've paid attention to our Instagram stories every once in a while, you'll probably see that we try and get people to get interested in different locations and post photos of landscapes that we've taken on hikes, scouting for these.
Right.
But is there anything that you're kind of currently dreaming up?
Well, there are a few kind of spooky creative shoots in the work to be shot later this summer and ready for October. Finally.
Fall coming in. I'm terrified that the year's passing quickly. That's for sure.
Yeah, you turned 25 this year.
Yeah, shut up. I don't want to know that. I don't even think about it.
But yeah, so later this year, some spooky shoots planned and ready for October, actually getting on the ball a little bit ahead of schedule instead of it being
surprise, it's
October and I don't have anything planned for spooky season.
Right.
Because we're doing other things.
What's our go-to spooky shoot that we did recently was with blanking out.
Savannah?
Yeah.
Was that the last one?
Savannah. So Savannah did this awesome shoot with us where basically we went out into the woods with her and her horse, and her friend came along, and we ended up doing amazing shoots with her friend later on as well.
Yes, that was...
Hi, Holly.
That was a great introduction.
But out into the woods with her horse, she dressed spooky, and we've got this amazing witch shoot, and we brought a fog machine, and we brought some lights, and that ended up being probably right now what I'd consider our sort of peak quality sort of edgy shoot.
I think it is actually still the top most liked photo on Instagram at the moment.
Yeah, that we have. I would say so too.
Should say something. Maybe we should
steer things in that direction.
Take that advice as it being our number one photo and be all right, we're just doing creative, dark, moody stuff.
Yeah.
Not even, it doesn't have to be dark, but just...
Well, but dark and moody is kind of secretly our style. And, whether or not people currently know that, that's for sure the direction we wish we could constantly steer things. And not, for a lack of happiness in the world, but it's very much what we're a fan of. I mean...
Right.
which could bleed into then saying that I think we already mentioned this maybe on the last podcast episode, but like the new Batman was amazing, right?
Right.
And so things that look like
Sorry, I just had that TikTok go through my head the last one we watched.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
sorry.
dude, if only we could share TikToks and not get in trouble on the podcast. We could spend hours doing this, dude. But so the new Batman was amazing, and so that has like a really particularly film-like appearance, really dark and gritty, but it's flashy and really impressive to look at. And movies like that for sure inspire something that we wish that we could constantly do. Not that we need everybody in a leather suit, but
No, but we've definitely been watching a lot of movies lately, and
oh hey,
might be some critics or two.
I just saw water go from my fingers.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Top Gun Maverick was incredible.
Yes.
I was not a fan of the first
So
one.
he hadn't watched the first one. I watched the
At
first
all.
one. I loved the first one, but I hadn't watched it in a while. We just watched it a couple days ago before we went and watched the new one. And I rewatching it now kind of like, and again, I hadn't watched it in a while. I've grown up, matured, and I'm like, ooh.
Well, how old were you when you watched it? Because it was
When I-
11 years before you were born it came out.
Yeah, so when I first watched it, I was like 10. I was
Yeah.
young. It was on like we had a VHS double box, I think, copy. One was like the making of Top Gun, and then the actual Top Gun movie. And so that was, my family had the old VHS tape for a while. But just
Fans.
rewatching the first one, it was like, I didn't think it was that good.
Well,
I was
we
really
have to give it some
disappointed.
slack because it was 1986.
Right.
But, and look, like some of the visuals were really cool. And the cool thing
Yes.
is with the new one, it definitely, it kind of waved to everything that it did before very well.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it too much and end up giving a ton of spoilers by accident. But
Overall, the new movie Top Gun Maverick is a million times better than the
it's
first
nothing
one.
like the first one in writing. Nothing like
Or
it in
acting.
writing. Or in acting.
But
Oh
at
my
the same time, it hits every single beat that the old movie that you appreciate about the old movie.
Yeah, completely.
Like, and as far as the storyline and everything, it's amazing.
Yes. Oh, dude.
Just overall better, and probably one of our favorite movies currently.
We immediately did the podcast thing and we spiraled away from the original topic and went nuts on a different one. But like, bring it back.
It's all film.
It's all film. It's all in
film.
there. It's all good. So back to, we did that amazing shoot with Savannah, and that was really fun, and that ended up getting us with Tommy and Holly, an amazing couple that we've worked with a bunch. You guys are awesome. But that's sort of spooky shoot that we ended up doing is really cool. And what we're, I guess, constantly interested in doing is like figuring out, we come up with an idea, and then we're like, I want to post this onto Instagram stories in a format that, hopefully it comes across what we're aiming to make.
Right.
And then hopefully people are interested in taking part and make that shoot come to life. And then like, that's going to hopefully be a thing that we do more and more often as
There's
we
a couple
go.
this summer that are planned that I'm really excited for, there are a couple of shoots that are more like, I want to, when people come to work with us for photo shoots, as far as just couples photos or engagements or something like that, like, I want the time our clients spend with us to be an experience. And I feel like
Yeah.
we say that a lot, but like, I want it to be a memory that that you two are having together, creating together, something that you would create on your own, but we just happen to be there documenting
Yeah,
it,
completely.
and you get to have these memories forever.
Yeah.
And so they're more like date night experiences, setting up something, and we try to plan this.
Yeah, as far as couples go, at least, like very
Right.
much like you're having this crazy date night adventure.
Right.
And that if we can be an excuse for somebody basically to have a micro vacation that
Right.
sticks in their mind, but also if you have short-term memory loss or something, you'll have the photos. and hopefully, many generations later, like everybody appreciates the kind of stuff that you got to do. But
Right.
that's totally what, and not just for couples, also just for like individuals, in any capacity that people work with us. Hopefully it's like,
Well, like-
we facilitated an experience you would never have, hopefully you never would have thought of, because I'm
Right.
hoping that our brains are creative and we come up with that kind of
Or
stuff.
like for seniors, just taking them somewhere they haven't been before. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many, and we do this a lot when we go up to Mount St. Helens. A lot of our clients are
I am
like,
always
"We've
so
never been
surprised."
up here," and we're like,
Yeah.
you haven't seen this before, this is amazing. And like, how cool to be part of that experience for them, being a part of it and just being like, this is something that we love. We see a lot and we get to capture you as you experience it for the first time.
Yeah, totally. And so just more of that, man. That's like primary focus outside of, trying to branch out. Now going back to like, what are we up to right now with Lost Locals Media, trying to evolve it onto several different sort of platforms that maybe people weren't expecting.
Right.
This podcast obviously being a primary.
Hello.
Hello, folks. So, having this up on our website, putting it up on Spotify and figuring that out was pretty fun.
Podcast on Spotify.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd never say that before.
Oh, right. But shout out to Anchor, the application through Spotify that hosts this stuff and makes it free for people. That's kind of amazing. But yeah, so evolving onto the podcast, and then trying to push our website to be more inclusive of some of the other things that we're doing. Because one thing that really isn't broadcast super loudly from us is some of the video work,
right?
Up until this point,
which is us pushing it.
trying,
just starting
completely. And so that then opens up the larger thing, which has just happened, which was
we made
a music video. Yeah. Shout out to Katrina, who we've shouted out, I think, probably on every episode. But shout out to Katrina again. What's up, Katrina?
Of all 3 episodes.
Yeah, dude. So we made a song together. It's been a year since we made the song, but we made a song together May of last year called Just Let Me. And that song ended up being... well, first off, it was a challenge to finally actually have everything come together on it, because the way that we record basically is having, a day where,
like a random day in the middle of the month where it's like, hey, are you free?
and she is, sometimes. And so she'll come over to our place, and I have all the audio engineering equipment needed to facilitate recording. The only thing I don't have is this isn't like some acoustic treated studio.
Right.
It's, effectively a bedroom with enough furnishing in it to make things kind of quiet.
Yeah. We'll put blankets up over everything.
Which works. Modern technology is amazing, man, and you don't have to perfect until you get into that phase of the nitty-gritty, like I'm going to EQ out the sound of the leaves rustling in the background and whatnot.
Listen, one day we'll have a closet that we'll be able to just transform into a recording booth.
Yes.
And will be perfect.
Yes, that will be perfect. But so that ended up being something that we put together over a couple of recording sessions together. It was a really fun track to make. And in making that and sort of approaching the end of it, being mastered, ready to post, it was like this...
needs to be more.
It needs to be more. This is like, it's a short song. It's kind of a summer bop. It's which when making it from a production standpoint, I was very much in the mindset of I want this to feel not necessarily modern, like a couple of things that I did in there, and who knows how people perceive it. Songs are all over the place now, but I didn't want it to feel modern. I wanted it to feel a little bit dated in some of how the recording was processed, even though it was very much digital. And so I hope that it comes off like that, has a slightly vintage vibe to it, outside of the fact that, again, it's digital. Right. So, it just feels like maybe a kind of a throwback pop track that's really short and sweet, and very much a summer track, too, in lyricism.
Oh, entirely. And that's why, after the last song you guys did, Dreams, it was a different vibe entirely.
Completely.
In terms of the song, but... it was good, but this time around we wanted to add just something more, and so a music video, us wanting to dive more into the filmmaking
and on Dreams we had the opportunity to actually get her back and do a full shoot for basically its marketing, where we're like, so let's take a bunch of photos that we can post leading up to this coming out, and then let's also make one of those turn into the cover art.
Right.
And so this time it was like, and then also let's shoot an entire music video to go with it. Nothing big, just the music video. And
then you wrote it.
And then, it was kind of a scripting process. I think it took me 2 weeks Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember super
It took
well
a while to actually just dream up of what
it would be.
we would approach, looking at the lyricism of the song and just
Trying to like figure out what makes sense.
Where is this gonna go? How can we film this? How can we film this and stay like in our very
tiny
like non-existent budget?
Yeah, well, like with nothing, what can you make?
How many friends can we ask to do favors?
And it turns out a couple, because another shout out we have to give is to
Jessie,
thank you so much for lending us the frog. Her classic car makes a debut in this music video, and it's
beautiful.
So essential.
So fitting.
So fitting. We needed that so bad. And
I forgot to pull out the script.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So we
speaking
had.
of the
Hey, guess
script.
what? We have something hiding behind.
See this? Watch.
The curtain.
Don't see anything, and then
Paper's ruffling. Wham!
Oh, look at that.
This is properly the script.
Oh my god. No, it's not.
This is
No, it's not.
This is a completely
God.
different script for another project that you don't know about and may
Put
never.
that away.
Bye bye. So hey, guess what?
I don't know what the script says.
The script looks kind of like that.
It looks just like that, which is why I thought it was the script. It's a script, just not the right script. Which is exactly what we're talking about, because we're trying. There's a few scripts floating around.
Yeah, there are like 3 others. So it looks similar to that, but the scripting process was probably a couple of weeks of sitting down and coming up with those ideas. And then one of the ideas that stuck for me ended up just being too big. It was going to be like an additional 7 people involved in actually being in front of the camera. And it was a bit too big. So I had to cut down the script. And it's cool. If we actually get a chance at some point, we may like take these like memorial sort of like, oh, here's what the script looks like, messy photos, just to show you. Basically, it's like everything gets printed out on this paper, and then we end up drawing out like, here's something that can't happen, but here's what could happen. We write it out, which I always love seeing messy scripts from. Like, I'm trying to be like my favorite filmmakers.
The highlights, all the different colored pens.
Yeah, trying to like work out how anything will actually be organized or function. But we ended up shooting the thing, which I can't believe it actually happened. That was really cool. But we shot it in 2 days. We were able to break that script ultimately into 2 days. Basically, 1 day for interior stuff and then 1 day for exterior stuff. And the interior stuff all happened at one location. Huge shout out to another person.
Thank you, Kristen Ramsey at the
awesome
Nehalem Street Meeting Place right here in Klatskanie.
Yeah, she did, like, she has such an awesome venue that was really versatile. It has 2 places that, like, it's funny because I had them in mind, but during script making, I didn't necessarily have them in mind, and they worked out really well. Basically having sort of what looks like a mock office setting in the beginning, and then up top having like a full-on empty church, which was a bit of work to move stuff and make it look empty.
Lots of moving of pews, but the venue is just beautiful and was so versatile, easy to dress up for the shoot, but also put right back to how it would be normally. It's great. If you need an area or venue for parties, weddings, etc., the Nehalem Street Meeting Place is a great option.
This episode is brought to you by...
No.
Unfortunately, we're not sponsored yet, but maybe like it's tens of episodes down the road. We'll see. Hundreds even. But
one day we'll find a sponsor.
We'll figure this out. But as far as the actual process of filming everything goes, I would say, were there like any notable moments that like stand out to you?
My ingenious engineering.
Oh, yes. A couple of different ingenious moments from Sophia. Problem solving on a set is like the main thing. Like, you bring everything, like we brought everything we own, essentially.
The entire car just full of all of our gear, all of our lights.
It was almost enough. And there was this final, basically the shot before the closing shot where the car zooms over a GoPro. We are doing this backtracking shot that's supposed to be super steady of basically Katrina walking down these steps in the empty church, and I wanted to go from sort of a mid-close setting where I sort of have her looking down on us to being pulled back and away, and having her saying the ending lines of the track and having it just look super smooth and just badass, super sexy kind of thing. And so she comes down the steps as she says these lines, and you don't notice anything as the viewer because, you know, it's just the camera. And it's just Katrina performing beautifully. But what Katrina's restraining is laughter. Because I have a power cord, so I'm all V'd out, if you can imagine. I'm like V'd out with my feet.
Sitting on the ground.
And I have a power cord wrapped around my feet, which are out like this. And that power cord is running back behind me.
Under your butt.
Under my butt. And I'm on towels, by the way, so that I can slide on the ground because we didn't have a dolly track. And you gotta make do. And so all the way in the back, we have Sophia, who is...
I've got the extension cord, and I'm just pulling
the
Kate
strongest
back.
Lady in town.
Oh.
You did that well, I can't say effortlessly.
I had to do it smoothly.
You did it like 4 times. You pulled me back perfectly like 4 times to get the shot. It was crazy. So literally the most ridiculous thing in the world. I am sitting on towels. We've got that power cord around my freaking feet. I'm trying to gently hold and aim up and then angle down. And she is reeling me back like she's pulling in, like, I don't know, a crab pot, dude.
Yeah.
It was insane. And you'll never know
Kate's
unless you listen to this podcast.
And Kate's like, man, I just really need a steady shot, but the dolly's not going to work.
Well, and yeah, I was like, I need to get basically on the ground to make this shot work.
Because the dolly would be too tall, but I need to be low, and I can't, like, crouch that smoothly and be that slow. And I'm like, well, there's an extension cord and a towel.
Dude, and I can't believe, because it wasn't even like a full-size towel.
No, it was just a hand towel.
Several hand towels laid
just like
out.
one for each cheek.
One for each of my cheeks.
One
and
for
then
each foot.
One for each foot. The mother of millions! What have you done? Look, ladies and gentlemen.
I think it'll be okay.
There's been a death in the family.
A little baby fell.
For those that can't see, we have a little tiny baby, mother of millions, offspring.
It'll wait here on the table, and I have a pot.
It's fallen off.
So I have also a nursery pot. So obviously this is the mother, and then the millions have its own pot.
There's the mother, and then there's the millions.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Sorry. Anyway,
sidetracked. But so that is one major standout moment from the music video shoot. There were several. The one that I can think of was basically, the vintage car that you see in there called the Frog, that plays a huge role in there. We ended up actually having Jesse, show Katrina effectively how to work the car, because this is like properly a vintage car. If you've ever driven,
there's a few like little special quirks that you need to treat an old car with.
If you've driven an old car, or you're old enough to have grown up in old cars and now things are very luxury and easy, you've got to pump the brakes, man. You don't always have power steering. You've got to like actually grab and heave a little in certain scenarios, unless you're going quick. And starting it up, sometimes you gotta give her a little extra gas. So there was just a little micro training period.
And that was fun to just see Katrina and Jesse in the parking lot making circles.
Yeah, making circles, going around.
Getting our camera gear going.
We're rigging up, we're getting ready, and they're just zooming around, dude. And Katrina, many props, because she was like fearless, totally ready, good to go with it. Even when Jesse says something like, "So it doesn't necessarily stop easy all the time,"
right? And
she was like, "No problem."
And how lucky we were to have Jesse, who trusted us
wholly,
with unreasonable measure. Like,
how amazing that is. She was just like, "Here, have the car. You just let me know when you're good with it. I'm gonna go get pizza with my guy, and maybe we'll meet you down the road."
Right.
And it was like, what?
We were planning on, I was going to be following in the car behind them. It's kind of like a pilot car.
Yeah.
And Kate and Katrina would be in the car filming for the most part. And I figured I'd have Jesse with me. But no, she's like, "Here you go. Here's the keys."
Yeah, you take this and you go. And we were just, that kind of flabbergasted. I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
so
you,
much.
man. We can't. I'm still amazed, and I just hope that we did it justice because it's such a pretty car. It's
beautiful.
such a cool looking car, and luckily, though Jesse wouldn't accept any actual payment from us, we offered and
barely could get her to allow us to fill her gas tank for her.
Yes, but at least we were able to take some really amazing photos. Don't shake the table.
Sorry.
We were able to let her, I'm sorry, we were able to direct her in getting her in front of her car and taking some really awesome sort of pinup style shots because she looks amazing with her car.
Yes.
And those actually, one of those are now featured currently, at least on the website, on the front page. If you scroll through a couple of those photos, you will see Jessie looking amazing on the back end of her car. And that was toward the end of our exterior shooting day.
Day 2.
Any other notable moments from our music video shoot?
Let me think. Well, it's out now, so it's like we can talk about the double camera angle of the slow motion of the...
Yeah, dude, that was cool. So, one
take.
one take wonder. Dude, okay, so... I hope everybody that hasn't seen it and is listening to this, like, oh, this all sounds like pseudo cool, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Please take a second, jump on over to YouTube or our Facebook page at Lost Locals Media and search Just Let Me, and you will see the music video that we're talking about. It is right at 3 minutes long. I didn't plan that. That was kind of cool. So, check that out. Yeah, it's right at like 3 minutes.
Wow.
I barely had room to cram all the footage in. But so check that out really quick so we could have you understand what we're talking about. But there is a cool scene where we actually got to be like mildly destructive on a really, sort of pop music scale. And a part of what was happening in the beginning is basically like if you picture a college student sitting down having all these study papers, all of this constant sort of like stuff that they're not interested in, coming at them from all angles, and just like frustration building up, some drama within friend groups, all that kind of jazz. And you've got like the classic crumpled up papers. We've been writing, we've been studying in these larger books. It's all around. And at the end, she's like, you know what? Screw this, man. I'm gonna throw stuff. And
everyone's always wanted to do that.
I don't know about you, but maybe some drywall has been sort of collapsed from my fist, which I immediately regretted in my life. So every once in a while, things just happen.
Throw stuff.
Yeah, so it's not outside the realm of reality. And so sitting there at that desk with all that stuff surrounding her, one of the things called for in the script was to have her just take her arms and shove everything off of the table like I almost did with our plants again. And so that was going to be a one-take thing, though, because if we didn't get it right, it would just be a lot of effort to get everything exactly how it was. With how we had it set up. And you would, like, if we did it a second time, you would likely see a discrepancy between the shots. And, so it was like a little, not too much pressure, but Katrina handled it amazing.
Nailed it.
So what we did is we set up 2 cameras. We had a camera was shooting 30 frames per second, regular speed, kind of right down the line, right? You get her profile shot and all of the items come toward the camera as she swipes them away. And then B cam is set up at, I think it was 120 frames per second, so we could slow it down 4 times. And that was shot from more of a quarter angle, not quite straight on. And both of them pointing there so that we were going to decide in the edit whether we wanted to cut to a really slow-mo of everything flying off the table. And of course we did.
I loved it.
It was so fun. But the way that we prepped that was interesting because we ended up saying, so if everything leading up to this moment where you actually throw everything off the table feels right, then we're just going to go for it. That's going to be the take. We do it and it's done. But if it doesn't feel right, we have to stop it before that happens. Because this isn't like a super acting heavy music video, but it's sort of this like mental breakdown moment. And so if everything leading up to that, her slamming her phone down, everything goes really clean, then I was just going to give her the go ahead to then throw everything. But if there were little slip ups, there's an accidental giggle, anything happens in there, then it was going to be a no. But literally the first time we did
First take, she nailed it.
she nailed it. Like slams the phone down, buries her hands, her head in her hands. Everything's perfect. And, then I just scream go, and I hope from some like micro directorial stance that by screaming and just creating an energy of just hype, she really committed to it. And so stuff flew, dude. It kind of went all over the place. And yeah, it worked out perfectly. So that was like one of my favorite moments to film, and I hope I have many more destructive moments in the future of filmmaking.
Go Michael Bay level.
Michael Bay level, dude. Like almost hurting cast and crew every shot. So yeah, that's plenty of rambling about the music video, I guess. But
Well, I was just thinking, it was like, we should probably not, because I still really want to do a behind the scenes video.
yeah, true. I think that we have enough footage, at least from phones and some photos and stuff like
Minus
that.
the stuff I accidentally deleted.
Right, that happens every once in a
A
while.
little bit. No, it doesn't.
Only with phone stuff, never from people's shoots.
Everything is like triple saved, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, don't be paranoid.
Like, and we keep it forever. If anyone ever is curious about that, it's like, how long do we keep your photos? And like, we keep everything
Yes, like
triple
we keep it-
saved for years. We have everything from the very beginning when we started.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. It's expensive, and it hurts because hard drives and storage space have just gone like skyrocket in
So
price.
expensive.
It's nuts.
But yeah, so your photos are good. I promise they won't be deleted.
Just so you know. So, as far as that goes, though, probably if we can get everything together for it, we'll end up at some point putting together behind the scenes. But it'll just depend on if we can scramble together enough footage and put that out. Well, on the off chance, I don't want us to ramble like too much more excessively on the music video. So instead, what else?
Instead of the music video, well,
Yeah.
do you want to stay in the realm of?
Yeah, totally. Let's stay in the
Music.
realm. Let's be in the
So-
realm together.
Well, do we have any more plans to do more music stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm tossing like I'm constantly for people that don't know, I guess I should say this.
And are we open to more music stuff?
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. So I always have music productions going in the background. I have several folders on the computer
Just full
of
of work in progress. Whip, whip, whip.
whip, which for those that don't know, the acronym is WIP, work in progress, so that we don't sound creepy, but saying whip is kind of fun. So there's like a million little projects that I have hanging around, and they are, all of them have some potential, all of them were going somewhere, but it just kind of depends on the mood and seeing if it gets carried through. So what would probably end up being better is if we ended up finding more collaborators in that realm. And so if there is anybody who is interested and has already kind of been in the situation I'm in, effectively,
Right.
where they have created some amount of their own music, but they're just trying to push through that. Yeah, I would always be open to helping somebody out with production or figuring out lyrics, doing things like that. Just carrying through the entire process until you do your mixing, mastering, and release. And then, of course, from the standpoint of just being Lost Locals Media, though music is like very scarcely a part of our process.
But it is also a major part of our process if in terms of film.
Yeah, it can be, but I would say like even more so than that, if there are people out in the world that end up hearing this that have their own music finished and they're to a point where they just want us to do effectively what we were just talking about, we go through and like I am so in love with the filmmaking process as far as like sit down, brainstorm for probably weeks, come up with a script that fulfills the needs of the song or what have you, and then work on how do you make this happen with no money, like
Right.
that kind of puzzle. I love that sort of life puzzle. And so yeah, if that exists out there in the world, hey, what's up, alien? Come land on our planet, because we want to be a part of your process. You know.
Yes.
And that's kind of like that's effectively like what we aspire to as a whole, is just
We
you know.
want to be around other creative people and work together to make something that people will be able to reflect positively on.
Yeah. Broadly.
Yes,
Broadly,
obviously.
yes. I want to reflect with a positive attitude upon what we do. Sorry.
Thank you.
She's going to be like, you play too much, and then throw something at me. So obviously, yeah, music videos, that would be amazing to carry on and continue to do more of that kind of thing. But I don't know what as far as like where your interest would carry you from this point in this very large media production realm, where do you see like the most inspiration for yourself? For me, it's like I'm so obsessed with the idea of filmmaking. If I don't at least have a semi-successful short film in the next 10 years, I won't know what to do with myself. So do you have an
You're putting
equivalent?
me in the hot seat.
I'm putting you right in the hot seat.
Because we've talked about this a little bit, and I don't really have a great answer.
Well, but like things just, let's just say like even in a casual way, what ends up for you being like that butterflies kind of thing where you're like, this feels right?
I really like making something that when you look at it, it just, something clicks, something visually, it's sharp, it's I like sparkle, I like glitter, but like you can, I've always liked sparkle and glitter, and it's not necessarily when photos or video are actually like having something glitter or sparkly in them, but there's something, how you can work with the light and your subjects that just ends up making an image pop.
So there's just a certain kind of visual artifact that
that I'm constantly looking for. I'm constantly just looking for that satisfaction after working on something. It was like visually, I'm like, and of course, it's my eyes that are looking at them, so it's up to my perception.
Yeah, well, and so that kind of lens of I want to see a certain quality exist can apply itself to everything, which is why, though you maybe on your own wouldn't have been like, I need to make a music video.
Right.
But in the process of being there and helping me as much as you did in making that come to life, you had certain things that you're like, this should change to effectively become better. And you can point to things and be like, I know how to change that to make that look the way that my eye sees that pop.
Right.
And it's crazy because in every visual medium you have that.
I
every
like
single one.
Finessing things.
Sophia finesse.
Well, like sometimes there's we've talked about this where it's like you have the more creative kind of storytelling, a lot of times initial idea. Like, for instance, our logo. I was stumped on what to do for our logo.
Right.
And you're just like, well, why don't you do a compass with an aperture ring in it? And I'm like, oh my God. But it's like, but I can draw that. I can do that. But like, there's the idea. And so it's like with the music video and a lot of in terms of the writing of the script that you did most of it, I was there to be like, hey, that
doesn't work.
That's
too much.
That doesn't make sense because of this other scene you did.
That's too controversial. People will start to hate you. You'll be shunned. No.
Well, I also don't want to be like portrayed as the like negativity filter.
No, I'm just playing. But like, it's
I'm
really,
just like, if you do this, it could just be a little bit better.
So really what you're saying is like, and like, this is why we're Lost Locals Media,
right.
Is like, you are a jack of all trades as far as visuals go. You see things as they come to you, you see things or you develop ideas, and you are constantly in a state of like a really healthy criticism where seriously, it's a really healthy criticism where you're like, I can improve I know how to improve. Let's improve.
Right.
And that's incredible because it doesn't, not a lot of people have the ability to do that. They see, like, my judgment is slowly refining, but when I look at certain things that I do because of the excitement or just like the satisfaction that comes from a quick turnaround, I'll go like, oh, dude, that's perfect as it is. Whereas you'll be like, I want to finesse this.
Right. Let's sit on it for a second. There's going to be something that pops up that you're not going to like in 3 days.
Oh man, this is a good advertisement for Lost Locals Media. This is why the machine works, man. These are the
how
gears,
we work together.
right? So like, I might spawn an idea, like I might just come up with this thing that works really really broadly, but then being able to have you look over the thing and go,
like, here's where it'll work, and I
part,
like it.
Yeah.
But here's where you're gonna fall short,
we're
and I
getting
think
caught right
this is
here.
gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Or it's not gonna work, or it's not gonna line up with the story, or just in general we can't afford that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we have this budget, remember?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Well, in a certain amount of time, because time is definitely the ultimate currency around us. So then I would say, like, there are certain.
I'm the one that noticed the small little inconsistencies in the music video that I didn't notice them before.
Don't talk about those.
Like the phone.
No. No.
I'm just
hey,
saying the phone. That's all I'm saying.
No one pay attention to anything she says. Don't look for things. Look, this is.
And
okay,
I commented on it day of the shoot too.
All right.
Sorry.
So listen. Here's the thing. I'm going to give us some credit because in AAA major budget films,
I know.
it'll be like, the dude has his hat backwards. The next scene, the dude has his hat forward.
And trust me, I noticed those too.
Yeah, like little tiny things, but you have people that are
There's
checking consistency constantly on set, whereas we are two people.
There is a scene and speaking of phones, there's a scene in Iron Man 2. I think it's Iron Man 2, where he's talking to a bunch of reporters, and there's a reporter who's videotaping him, like, with his phone. In one scene, it's a flip phone, and then he cuts to a close-up of Robert Downey Jr., and then the next scene, that's the same scene, it's just a cutback. The guy is holding, like, a Nokia.
Again?
A Nokia, a completely different
phone?
Yeah. It's like it goes from flip phone to like or not a Nokia, but like a smartphone.
I thought you were talking about like it could be a literally a scene that gets reused twice. And I'm like, ooh, that's lazy.
That would be fun though. But no, it's just like, okay, someone handed him a different phone in between cuts and no one realized it.
This isn't even like
or the coffee cup in Game of Thrones, that type of thing.
Oh yeah, dude, and they had to. So HBO. Okay, sorry for those that haven't watched Game of Thrones, but let's preface this. I think it was right next to Daenerys, the character Daenerys, one of these queens.
No. It was Sansa.
Sansa? Was it Sansa?
Yeah, when she was
sitting in like some sort of chair, and next to her on a table, literally HBO posted this like it was live. People saw it. Right next to her was a coffee cup.
Yeah.
They are in a fantasy land. They are way back, Middle Ages, in a fantasy land.
Styrofoam doesn't exist.
Is a styrofoam coffee cup. And then a day or two later, I think it was only a day, may have even been hours, the VFX team was like, nope. And they were like, spot remove that. Go away.
Boop, it's gone.
Yeah, dude. And so, it happens.
It happens to everybody.
Even multi-million-dollar productions, dude.
But yeah, so I usually in terms of those types of situations, I'm the one that's like,
you're watching, and that's good. But I want to redirect and be like, so like obviously
I still haven't answered the question.
You haven't answered the question. So, you definitely have the ability to be excited at a certain level of detail being in a project. But the question is, what project is the one that you are like, that sounds amazing to me? And we'll be quiet as long as we need while you just sit and think about this.
I'll just sit and think and
I'll
breathe heavy.
just hang out and talk to everybody on my own. So Sophia's contemplating
I'm gonna,
what her life is
obviously, to have my dream, it would involve something with horses.
Yeah.
What we do, but just something that also has horses. Whether that is a Western movie that we end up...
Like a Western! Sorry, that's another movie reference. I'm sorry. Representation.
Like a Western. I
Hey,
can't do
shout
it
out,
like you do.
shout out Tom Hardy in Legend. Legends?
Lawless.
No, don't say he's in Lawless too. Now I'm really confused. He's in a movie.
What is it?
It's
Is it Legend?
Is it Legendary? Basically, Tom Hardy is two brothers.
He plays twins.
He plays twins.
A little Parent Trap moment there.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good film. Anyways, you like horses, and I've been waiting for you to say this out loud.
Yes.
You like like horse shoots, and you like horse videos, and you like.
Listen, horses look pretty.
You
I'm sorry.
have, and we wrote a post about this. I gave you shit in the post. You literally have had like hundreds of ribbons lining the walls of your room when I first met you.
I'm sorry.
Hundreds. They were everywhere, and it was like equine trophy. It was so crazy, but like so impressive because it's such a part of what you did in the beginning of your life. And so now at this point,
that's honestly that's one of the main reasons why I was like, no, I'm not gonna do anything else. I need something, a career that fuels my creative aspects,
Yeah,
and
totally.
two, something that I can control and be like, you know what, if I want to go and spend a month with horses because I want to take photos of them, I can.
You can.
You know?
Well, yeah, and so-
eventually, if someone can get me there to getting paid while doing that.
and so, you know, obviously everybody has to make a living. And so
Right.
as creative people, like, let me just say, there's guilt in everything you do.
This is gonna be a long one.
Yeah, no. But no, let me stop my tangent and just go straight for like, you happen to take amazing horse photos. It just so happens that not only do you like riding horses, when you take photos of horses, they come out amazing. And for both of us, we both love taking photos of horses and they come out amazing. So one thing that I know without you admitting to it is that if you could make a living really specializing, hyper specializing even in doing effectively horse portraiture, like, you would be happy.
It'd be amazing.
You would be amazing. Like,
I'd be content.
I love it too. It's so
but you know,
fun to
I
work with.
want to make horse videos too.
Yeah, well, and you know,
Like,
revolving the world
I want
of horses.
to, and honestly, in terms of the Yellowstone title entry, or what is that called? Title sequence.
Are you talking about the title, like the intro of the series called Yellowstone?
Right. It's like that is like an amalgamation. Help me.
I got you.
Help me.
Amalgamation is
Thank
the word
you.
that Sophia is looking for.
That was also in my post. I'm bad with words. So doing the title sequence is like everything that I love, especially if it's like something like Yellowstone with horses, but it's like you've got the video aspect of it because it's a section of film, but then the graphic design aspect of it, because I love doing graphic design and putting title cards and creating different effects and stuff to put overlays.
To explain this a little bit, what you're talking about is the TV series Yellowstone follows basically people living in Yellowstone, the national park, and it's very much a modern Western show. Man, we got through maybe the first season. We have a lot more to catch up on. We got hooked, however, on the prequel 1883, I believe.
Yeah, we ended up finishing that.
Incredible series. But so back to Yellowstone. Yellowstone has a title sequence or intro sequence that plays. It's like the beginning credits of any given movie, but it's really complex. And so it involves a lot of various different, really well made moving graphics, a lot of very fancy sort of color grading to make things look like they're vintage film.
Well, it looks like someone did tintype.
Yeah, tintype photography. Well, and particularly in 1883, they had that.
Right.
So there was a little bit of a difference between the two, but they were similar.
Like with Yellowstone, I'm just thinking there's the shot of like a slow motion bull in a rodeo arena, but the lighting is dramatic.
So what you're saying though is effectively when I get to my massive, unreachable, unattainable dream goal of being the greatest director that you've ever seen, that you want to make a Western, and that in that we would have this awesome title sequence that you would make because you do graphic design and you could put horses in it.
Oh yeah, if you
Is
put
that
it
what you mean?
if you put it that way, sure.
No, I'm just playing. But so
I almost said it again.
oh, and let me put this in there as like a caveat, like another thing. So obviously we also love taking pictures of people, and you do too. Like there is a ton of satisfaction that comes in taking the photos that we've taken already. Mm-hmm. Like that's massively satisfying. It's just like if you could incorporate any given animal in the world into it constantly because of your upbringing, it would be horses.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like, so I keep saying like Western, but like
Western.
I'm fine with medieval fantasy as well.
Oh, for sure, right?
Let's do some Witcher stuff. That's
Dude.
got horses in it.
Yes. 100%.
That sounds, I'm really painting myself up to be just a crazy horse lady.
Yeah, but like at least
And
you're, look, at least the thing that you have, so like a crazy cat lady that exists in the world, you know, that has 12 cats in her home and doesn't tend to clean them often. Let's say that she's enjoys the cats, but she's not a cat trainer. But she's not a cat rider. Not that anybody rides cats. She's not a cat painter. She's just a crazy cat that happens to have them. You as a crazy horse lady,
Like,
you don't have 12 horses. You've got 2. You had 3. You have 2. And you trained them, and they're good horses. And also you like to draw horses, and you do a good job when you do it. And also you like to take pictures of horses, and you do a good job when you do that. So you're not quite just the average crazy horse lady. You're a creative crazy horse.
wow. That was such a beautiful build up. Thank you.
You like that?
That's so
Like, it was
sweet.
like, you ever listen to dubstep and it's like the build keeps going. It's like dun 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 dun, and it keeps going.
I wanted
you
you to
never-
keep going.
Stop. Yeah, I could have kept going. So Sophia wants to take and have a little bit more of that incorporated into.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like,
Well, and so we might aim for that, or you know, basically we're on the journey.
cosplay.
Yeah, we're.
I like cosplay too.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Doing
completely.
that type of creative. Like if you want to dress up as Spider-Man and like you want to go downtown and shoot a really cool photo shoot downtown and we can try to figure out superimposing you onto the wall, like, you know,
That's a possibility.
make a really believable, like you look like Spider-Man photo. I can make you look like Spider-Man and make it look believable. Yeah. I'm into that.
That would be fun. But just, I think that if we can direct it to be like, how are we trying to develop things? It really is like, obviously I want us to be able to do more video work, and I'm hoping that the content that we're putting out is reflective of the kind of quality that we can create as it pertains to video, with no budget, by the way. And then obviously all of the animal portraiture that we've shown shows that we are good with animals. Hopefully, I think that people like our animal work. If we could do more. You just had an idea.
Well, another one. I can't. This is why it's hard for me to answer, because I want to do so many things. But
Well,
you
yeah.
know, like already one thing that like is doing, like I'm really excited about, that's kind of checking all the boxes that we're already working with, is cow horse couture. Fashion photography.
Fashion photography is amazing.
And
But
her
even
amazing
fashion
apparel.
photography, it has to be said that fashion photography is within that creative realm. I was doing a long-winded version of this, but Lost Locals Media, what do we want it to evolve into? As much as possible, I would say film, I would say creative portraiture, and then I would say very much equine portraiture. And so like those things kind of encompassed into a thing. You know, I think it's possible for us to sort that out. Those are just inspirations that we have that are
Right.
major. So
Personally or commercially.
I feel like I've kind of sort of gotten the answer for the question that started this podcast hours ago or minutes ago, which was like, where are we heading? I think. So now that we've answered question 1, how about question 2?
I don't know if we have time for question 2.
I don't know if we do either.
I don't know how long have we been going for.
Yeah, I'm going to look now. Oh, it hasn't even been an hour, dude. We're good.
Oh, okay.
Not too bad. So what else could we approach? We've been on to sort of our inspirations. We've talked about the music video.
Just kind of in the background doing a little bit of other commercial work as well.
Yeah, that's been kind of crazy. Definitely don't mind talking about that a little bit. So
And my graphic design stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's
Totally.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So, first things first, like we've had the opportunity to work with a couple of like businesses that were really unexpected. We had the opportunity to create a couple of videos that have been unexpected, whether that was like Clatsop County doing effectively just showing off how pretty Clatsop County is a little bit, mixed in with some interviews. Then another video where we did a company worked with Klatskanai School, elementary, my bad, Klatskanai Elementary School, and did like a gardening video with some interviews with their company. We did so fashion photography for Cowhorse
That was so much
Couture.
fun. I'm so excited to keep working with her, especially with her new line coming out.
Yes, it is Kirby, right?
Yes.
I remember her name right. So Kirby's amazing, and the graphic design she does is awesome. And so we got the opportunity to go out with her to somebody's barn, and it was her friend
Nolani.
Nolani. Yeah, Nolani, you're awesome too. You look amazing in those photos because she ended up modeling some of
And
Kirby's
Jasmine.
clothing.
We can't forget Jasmine.
Jasmine's
too.
amazing.
Great model.
The kids were fun to work with.
Yeah.
The horses looked great, and this obviously, if you can't tell by the name, Cowhorse Couture
is a cow horse or horse equine based apparel company where Kirby makes amazing custom hand drawn designs and places and puts them all on her clothing herself. Like everything.
Is it screen printed? I'm not sure.
I don't want to quote any.
Yeah, we're not qualified to tell you what her process is.
Is that she's amazing. Everything is hand drawn and everything is made in her house, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy cool. And I think that at some point we're going to be going out with Kirby to take photos of her actually in the process. So maybe the next couple podcasts, we might be able to tell you a little bit more about how she does it. And I know that she's also interested in...
Down the line, doing a video.
Yeah, doing a video and probably as far as her style goes, branching out even further into various different things, not always just Western apparel, but, you know, I think that we talked about a couple different things that were really interesting.
I can't remember.
But that lady's cool, and so we ended up doing their, you know, branding / fashion photos. And then who else did we work with? It was... Boy, I can't remember.
I didn't have a list ready for that.
But so, no, it's all good. So we ended up like...
Just a few good commercial projects, and we've been enjoying them.
Well, and so on our website, like we've had branding listed.
Right.
But it's been
now
like,
we can actually...
It was a little confusing, though. I'm probably going to change this, if not today, like tomorrow, from branding to commercial work, because that stuff is like, that's more commercial work. And then as far as branding goes and like creating a brand, a graphic brand package and stuff, that's another part of what you do.
Yeah. So I've been drawing most of my life. But I very slowly, in the background, I've been doing advertising. No, not advertising, but just if you know me, you need to ask, hey, can you draw me a logo? And then usually I'd be like, okay, here's my prices, you know.
So slowly you got to a point of like getting, well, professional software.
Right. I took a couple little classes and just kind of seeing if I can figure out doing this professionally as well.
Yeah, you built it up and like...
And I'm really excited doing the edits on the website, going to be adding all of my graphic design projects, my portfolio to the website, and fully kind of starting to advertise that. Yeah. And
which will kind of take the place of branding.
Right.
And probably branding won't even be a part of the website so much as like graphic design.
Right.
Moreover.
You know, I can do anything from just if you need a quick black and white outline logo made for a quick idea, or if you are making a full brand and you need a color palette, a font, you know, extra, I call them, oh God, what do I call them?
Do you have a name?
Brand elements.
Yeah, brand elements, which really makes sense. Just all the pieces composing the whole of what your brand as a business is.
Right.
So and it's cool because you've laid everything out on PDFs.
Right.
Where you basically show, here's what a complete package looks like front to back. Here are all of the pieces that make up a package.
Right. And so I finally have a couple of those. I have like 4 or 5 brand full brand packages put together to now have a full portfolio to kind of advertise what those look like. But yeah, just doing anything from the simple logo to a full brand to I can lay out, your business cards if you need help designing those. Or if you are designing them yourself, I can give you everything you'll need to put it together yourself in terms of the brand elements and drawing
So
and
let's
fonts.
get even more specific, because one thing I'm noticing as we're podcasting is like there are a lot of things that if people are stumbling onto us for the first time that they might gather what we do, but they might not gather how some of it works in a more like simplistic way. So when you're saying that you do graphic design, and I was talking about how you have these PDFs that sort of chart out what a brand graphic design package looks like, what's included in that?
So depending on the package, but the biggest brand package that I offer would include your primary logo. Which
I'm like making you recall everything on the spot. I'm sorry.
I have a PDF for this reason.
So I don't have to remember, but just broadly, even if we miss stuff.
So like you'll get one main logo typically is laid out lengthwise for like title heads, for papers, banners, kind of and then you'll get a secondary logo that is either traditionally circular or just in terms of taking up space represents a smaller area versus your primary logo's lengthwise like this. Secondary is more something that holds an area this big.
Yeah.
And along with that, a main header font and then a paragraph font. So your header font will typically be what is in your logo, and your paragraph font will be what is either, if you have a second set of text in your logo, it would be in the paragraph font, or if you're building your website, you use your paragraph font for most of your details text on your website.
So that you like give all of the tools so that a person's basically able to lay out like, hey, here's my business flyer.
Right.
Like you can go, so like from my recollection, how I view it, which might be a bit more of a simple view of it, but is like you have a big, like really impressive primary logo that's very intricate or detailed based on the needs of whoever we're working with. And then a secondary, more subdued version of that. And
typically can also be like a watermark logo.
Yeah,
something
like,
that's simple, just like a, couple of letters of your brand or a symbol, just not the massive whole logo.
Yeah, simple version of it. And then you end up getting font licenses for the people so that they can legally use.
Yes. So
in commercial work, they can use these cool looking different fonts that correspond with their brand. And it's like it can be like two fonts, but like a larger one and then a smaller one that's better for like, big blockbuster. Here's the title. And then, one that's like, here's the nitty gritty.
Right. Here's the details, the fine print.
But then from there, you end up going into, as far as like color, you actually lay out, here are the colors that would kind of coordinate well with each other that seem representative of your brand.
Sometimes.
So
I've
seen it and it looks cool when you do it.
I actually even have, in terms of figuring out your color palette, if you are looking for color to be included in your logo or needing a color palette for your brand, I do have kind of a questionnaire that I send to my clients that kind of asks them questions if they don't have a solid idea of what they're looking for. If they're just like, hey, I'm coming to you to get started on this idea. I can kind of get in concept of what they're looking for. Is like, in terms of color palette, when you think of your brand, do you think of it being warm and sunny or cold and rainy? Like, not necessarily in terms of emotional, but like, are you feeling cool vibes or warm vibes? And from there, I can
lays everything out. It's like, I love that you did that, by the way,
jewel
because
tones,
it gives you just enough generalized information to have a palette of like, here's how I'm going to start building.
Right.
That's so cool.
And so, that's how the color palette kind of works. And ultimately, the simpler the color palette, the easier. Sticking to 3 or 4 colors is what I recommend. If not, even less than that is even better. Right. 2 colors is amazing.
Right.
But then you look at our color palette and it's like,
well, and being it's just, the business that creates color palettes,
and
makes
that's
it hard.
what I wanted to do is like, we kind of deal with color in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So we needed to have a color palette that...
We're color peddlers.
Right. And so I wanted to create a brand that could easily factor in a bunch of colors and kind of have a rainbow
and have it work out well.
Right. But then after that is after the fonts are figured out and your color palette, brand elements. And these are typically just extra designs or drawings of something related to your brand, whether that is, for instance, one that I did, what was a good brand element one? Oh, the halter. It was a Marie Hepner equine. She hand braids horse halters, and
Yes.
I've been doing a lot of equine logos too. It's just who's been reaching out to me. She hand braids equine halters out of mule tape, and so her main logo and brand ended up being a brand that could be transferred into a hot iron.
Yeah.
But then for her brand elements or extras, she wanted a little bit of floral, so I drew up just like a couple of little daisies that she could easily put like as a watermark or on her website somewhere on a
So an
tag.
easy way to describe what brand elements are is basically like these are filler graphics. This
Exactly.
is like you take these, they're cool little designs that are specific to you, only you really have them.
Right.
And it's not like downloading a low quality little PNG file off of Google.
Right.
It's like, hey, I have this really specific high quality thing that I can attach to the corner of an advertisement I made.
Right. Or for instance, I doodled out a halter of what she makes, her product. I
Yeah.
hand drew what her product looked like.
Yeah.
And simplified it so it'd be something that she could easily place anywhere she wants but not be too busy.
Right.
And then she's like, hey, after I finished her whole brand package, she's like, can I have you make the tags, like the
Right.
product tags that will be placed on the product that have like how much they'll be, my brand and everything on
Yeah.
them, but like a clothing tag.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah. And
Well,
I
this
took
is like-
the brand element I drew and placed it behind as like a just filler element, but it just kind of pulls the brand together to make it look inclusive
Oh.
with its.
Well, and this is what makes it such a hard thing as far as graphic design to explain is like if there's a need that you can fathom with your business as far as like marketing and materials goes in that way, you don't want to have an absence of content.
Right.
As weird as that
You
is
want
to
to be
think about.
prepared
Like,
to put your brand, your logo on everything, anywhere you want.
yeah, you
anytime. And
want to
that's
be like, you want to have an archive of here is every situation that I can think of where I'm going to need to like place something relevant to our company. Like I need to have a graphic for that.
right.
And
I
usually,
figure that out too, because like I want to make sure the clients are ready to
They're
go when
prepared.
I'm done. So
Yeah.
they'll have.
well, it depends on the package that they
Right,
go
of
for
course.
as well.
But even for the base package, if you just get like one logo, one primary logo done, no like real. I figure out the font because typically logos have fonts in them, but you
Yeah.
don't like. You'll goodness, I totally lost my train of thought just then.
Boom. I told
It's
ladies
gone.
and gentlemen, I told her to bring the Red Bull to the table and she said, "What? What?"
Sorry.
Hey, look, here's the long and short of it. Basically,
Wow.
like graphic design as a whole is a huge part of what you're doing right now at Lost Locals Media, which kind of surprised both of us.
Yes.
And like, do you remember where you were?
On the train, basically.
boom.
So even for the singular primary logo, like I make sure you'll have a black copy of it, a white copy of it. If you choose to add color, you'll have a colored version of it that will look good on a dark background and a colored version of it that will look good on a light background.
You see how many facets there are to these things, ladies and gentlemen?
and
It's
each
very
of
complex.
those will have a PNG file copy, a JPEG, as well as a PDF. Anything you
And
need.
you get a TIFF file, and you get a TIFF file, and you get a PSD, and you get a PNG.
Exactly, because and that's the other thing. A lot of times people are like, I don't even know what I need, but I need it, and I'm
And they're
like,
gonna be
I know
like-
what you need. Here it all is, and
But then they'll come back to you and be like, "But I wanted a JPEG."
I got you. I can do that. It's
Oh my
nice.
goodness. So graphic design has been really cool to watch you sort of approach, and what's really interesting is like, because we don't have a ton of people that we like constantly interface with who do this, like any of these things, really.
Right.
We don't have a ton of photographer friends. We don't have any filmmaking friends. We don't have any graphic design friends. We just have people that we aspire to be like.
Right.
It's interesting because you have to do a lot of research work to figure out, how do I put this together in a not only a marketable way, but a way that you can like look at and be like, as a consumer, this makes sense.
Right.
This is easy. I get everything I want, and I don't really have any additional questions. I'm just happy with what I have. And you did that quickly and cleanly with graphic design, and it's been really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really, I'm trying to get it
Now,
all figured
video
out.
is, for me, interesting and difficult because as it pertains to a ton of different subjects, it's so varied and so different. Because if you're like even in making a wedding video, there is a version.
So many questions.
Yes. There is a version of a wedding video that exists where you basically see this incredibly beautiful, slow, very shiny, and dreamlike version of your wedding. But then there's another version of it that you can make that is like you have a journalist making a documentary of your wedding. And then there's another version of it that feels like this quick cut action flick.
Right.
It
feels like Michael Bay filmed your wedding.
Right. And all of those are really good.
It all
None of them are
depends on
bad.
what your client's looking for.
It just depends on what they're looking for. And you have to convey that all of those are possible. None of them are worse than the other. And figure out which one they're actually going to be really happy with.
Right. Because you'll have a client who's like, I want the dreamy motion picture shot of my wedding.
Right.
And then you'll have the client who wants, I just want you to stand there with a tripod and
not
record it and then give me my file.
Yes.
And then you have, which I would love to, and it's kind of exciting. You have the bride who's like, I want you to film my wedding like it's The Office.
Yes,
complete
dude.
with interviews of everybody. And
Yes.
like, it's like, okay, so many different directions you can go.
A million. And so, that's kind of one reason that we want to, as amazing as it has been being in a situation where we've gotten a lot of really traditional weddings, we're interested in getting more elopements than we get traditional weddings, as we kind of shift what our focus is going toward.
Yeah. Which
and so,
we might be doing soon.
Yeah, we're kind of shifting a little bit away from traditional weddings and more toward, if we do weddings at all, we do elopements. And the reason is, again, like facilitating experiences where people are in these heightened spaces in the world.
Right.
Like we want to have some people, if we're making a wedding video, I definitely want everything to be as open and as like coordinated and creative as we can make it with them. And in an elopement setting, selfishly from a filmmaking perspective, like there's very little to worry about.
Right.
You're in a situation where everything is incredibly low stress. We don't have any aunts and uncles who are super angry because I got in the way of their phone photo.
Oh, God.
And, that's ideal,
Well,
man.
and-
If you're going to make really high quality art that these people can keep and carry with them for years and years. Like, that's just like the best scenario. Nobody's worried.
Right.
And,
no one's like, you can be on a timeline, but it's not the big wedding day timeline that everyone gets so stressed over.
Yes.
And
Yeah, not that you can't do a traditional wedding right.
Right.
You
If
can
that's
do
what
it
you
right.
want, you can
but
do
we
that.
don't blame people when it becomes difficult, when it
Right.
becomes overwhelming. And so, if we can shift doing something like wedding videos, which is a more complex and involved thing, to doing wedding videos that are really hyper centralized around the couple and creating a story that is filmic.
Right. And more of that adventure type of.
Yeah. You're creating, in my eyes, I always view it like I'm creating the story of your romance.
Right.
And how do I generate that from nothing? And sometimes, unless you're at the most expensive, beautiful venue that exists, it's really hard to find even spaces for the people to be in that are representative of what I feel like they have with each other. Or even time. Yeah, having the time for that.
Sometimes it is a battle just to get the couple at a wedding alone for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Just for photos, let alone, a few shots of video for video. It's,
Totally. Right. Because, this opens up a huge topic of like, some of the stresses that you face when you're creating at a wedding.
Right.
But what's difficult for people like us. Oh, and by the way, if you've made it this far in the podcast, I'd like to thank you for being an avid listener of the Kind of Lost podcast.
This is definitely a little bit of a rambler.
A badass. But back in. We're right back in. So, in being in the wedding setting and trying to create things like photos and video, one thing that you have to be is kind of selfish with time. If you want to get things that are unique, that are incredibly memorable, that are individualistic to the couple, you have to take time. And oftentimes that cocktail hour that people have right before reception is where that's what you have.
An hour.
And oftentimes that is hardly enough, because sometimes it's not just us vying for that time. It's a lot of people, and your guests become flustered that they don't see you, and a variety of things can happen. But effectively, all we're trying to do in that time is pack as much creative ability and get as much work in as we can in that time, because those are the shots that end up being on the wall.
Right.
Those are the parts of the video that end up bringing the tears.
Right.
Like, there's no question about it. That hour is prime time for us. And if we don't nail it and quickly, or get them in the right headspace where they're not stressed, overwhelmed, and thinking about the guests waiting for them, we may fail.
Right.
And so, and luckily we haven't been in that situation yet. We've been really lucky. Things have gone well during that time for the most part. And our couples have been incredibly fun. But that's one of the hardest things. And there is a way to get rid of that stress and worry. And honestly, it's probably, a couple things. One, there are day after shoots that people do.
Right.
And that definitely,
I love the idea of that.
So cool.
I want you to have your big wedding with your family and enjoy everything about that, of having all of your friends around you.
Yeah.
But then for your photos.
Photos and video. Like,
go on an adventure the day after your wedding.
Yeah, it's like having an elopement. Hopefully it's got very little cost.
Or another thought is, just totally random, is like, make honeymoon photo shoots.
Yes.
Like honeymoon experiences.
Yes,
take your photographer and videographer on your honeymoon to some place.
Totally. I completely think, because again, those are those intimate times that really create more story.
Right.
And we vie for that time. It's hard to get that time. And so, like a honeymoon shoot, having a day after shoot, or if you ditch the entire traditional wedding vibe, I am so with you, because that's what we did.
Right.
And, so obviously we're proponents of going for elopements. And we had a wonderful small wedding.
We even had our closest family there with us, and it was still peaceful and perfect.
Yeah. Right. Nobody, of course we have a kind of a smaller, here are the immediate people we need here with us, and we're lucky in that way. But that was wonderful. And so, if we get lucky enough that we find the right people to do things like that, that's really exciting to us, because again, selfishly as a creative person, we're like, I want to make something that is, of epic scale and epic meaning, and, proportionally compared to what you can do in situations where you're strapped for time. Of course, you're going to make something that's crazy in comparison. And we're interested in seeing if we can do stuff like that, for sure.
100%.
Well,
have we babbled on long enough for at least this episode?
Any other micro updates we want to give before we?
I don't know.
Here's
an update. I'm hungry.
You need a Snickers.
What time is it?
I don't even know.
We haven't eaten today.
Oh yeah, there's that problem. We forget. I think that
we'll be good to wrap this up.
I think we're pretty much good to wrap this up.
Thank you so much for listening to us. If you've made it this far, you're the real one.
You're a real one. I gotta say, on our socials, I'll probably end up doing another post about this as it comes out. Hopefully it'll come out within the next day or so. on there, if you have any questions that you're interested in hearing us talk about, we're not always going to have enough material for us to just go on and on about Lost Locals Media. And so for sure, we're going to be branching out into various other topics in the world. But the most immediate thing, especially in days like today, is definitely all the corners and crevices of our business.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to be branching out. So if there's any topic in the world that you guys want to hear us babble about.
Yeah, because this is not just going to be strictly Lost Locals. Like, it's who we are, obviously. But
And our ongoings.
yeah.
But we're definitely
we'll
going to
loosen
talk
up.
about it.
We'll be real with you.
Yeah. So if you have questions, send it to us on Instagram when you see these posts.
Or if you think you have a reason to come on the podcast,
Let me know.
we need to get another mic.
Well, I mean, yeah, we can figure that out. We can even figure out renting a place to record this if we need to.
What do you mean? Our bedroom doesn't work.
If you want more space than hanging out with us in our bedroom, I promise it doesn't stink. But
It doesn't.
it smells lovely, actually. But we can probably find a different space.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to episode 3 of the Kinda Lost podcast. I've been Cade.
I've been Sophia.
And we're kinda lost forever.
Always.
Bye.